All right, so are we ready to get started?
Yeah, we'll have more people popping in, but we'll just let them in as they come in.
Okay, sounds good. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services Career Cafe. I am Josh Sloan, your host. I am also the volunteer and outreach coordinator for Sportable. We are an adaptive sports nonprofit in Richmond, Virginia, and we provide sports to people with physical disabilities and visual impairments. So feel free to check us out if you're interested in, being an athlete with us, being a volunteer with us, all of those good things at sportable.org. And that's all we're going to talk about that. Everybody, if you haven't already, please mute your microphones and turn off your cameras unless you are a speaker or an interpreter. And the Career Cafe is produced by the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services and Virginia Ability. The goal here is to help attendees explore career options and opportunities in the state of Virginia. And today's segment of the Career Cafe will feature one guest interviewer. I will be interviewing Eric Falk from the Washington Area New Automobile Dealers Association, which is shortened to WANADA, and the Automobile Dealer Education Institute, which is shortened to ADEI. So Eric is going to talk to us about the career of automotive technician, plus other careers within the automotive field, and specifically the ADEI program. So today's format is as follows. Following my questions, my interview questions, we will open up the chat for questions from the audience. But to be honest, feel free to put a chat in the question put a question in the chat at any time, and we will get to it after we get through the interviews. So if you ask a question in the first few minutes, it will get answered just later. So be patient. Typically, with only one guest, we have plenty of time to answer all of the questions in the chat, and we will just go through them, starting with the first one to come in and ending with the last. Other than that, please refrain from unmuting yourself during today's call. And we are going to begin with a quick video from WANADA, which I keep thinking is Wakanda, but it's WANADA. And then we are going to go into our interview. So I'm going to share my screen, and then we're going to watch this video, and that's going to be that. Okay. Oh no, where's the thing? Wow, this is not what I want to do. Sorry, folks, we're getting there, I promise you. Share sound. Got it. Oh, look at that. That came out nicely. Okay.
Currently, the ADI program is more important than ever. As a growing business, ongoing customer base, and the volume of our cars that are coming in through, it's very important to have a group of students who are getting post and secondary education through ADEI.
It's an absolute fantastic program, and I wish it was around when I was younger.
It's a great program. It's a great tool. It's wonderful for the kids. You know, they actually get a chance to go to school, and it's a way for us to grow the shop.
It really fits the needs because it gives us an opportunity to train the technician or the apprentice technician here while he's going to school. He's with the ADEI program one day a week. He's here training alongside my technicians the other day, so it really gives them good hands-on experience.
The students get here about 8 in the morning, and we either start out in the shop in the morning, and we do 3.5 to 4 hours in the shop, and then we'll take a lunch break, and then we hit the classroom for about another 3 hours, 3.5 hours for classroom instruction, and then we go to the computer lab for about an hour where they get their factory training done.
And it's a very structured program, so our mentors really understand what the students are currently learning and make sure we reinforce what they're learning in the classroom.
And once they get through the program, they're ready to go, and we love it. I have many of them down there right now working.
All right. We're gonna do this, and then, all right. Eric, welcome. How are you?
Doing well. How about everyone else?
Doing good, doing good. Can you just start by giving us a brief overview of sort of the auto tech career generally, and then as well as the ADEI program as well?
Sure, I could certainly do that. So I don't know if maybe one thing we didn't really discuss is maybe give a brief background history of myself.
Absolutely.
That might help a little bit just to know where I'm coming from with what I'm saying. So I've been in the automotive industry since I was 16, now 39. So I've been in the industry for a while. I first was really into the performance and racing industry side. So my first job was working in a Mustang speed shop, and I really liked that job. My parents kind of pressured me to do college. So I did go to college for a while, but then my passion for the automotive industry was kind of greater than my desire to take college classes at my young age. So I've grown some with myself and knowing how much to value education. But I did struggle with that some. So I know some students can have a little bit of misguided voices of what to say or how to get involved in the automotive industry, or what avenues they could take, because there is more than just auto tech, but that is a great avenue. And I think it's really the best way to dive into the automotive industry, because then you've really spent time getting to know the heart of the vehicle and how to maintain it, how to service it, how to interact with customers. So after I worked at a few different performance shops, I was a high school auto tech teacher for 9 years. I also taught the ADI program for 4 years or 5 years. So I have a fair amount of automotive technology instructing backgrounds, and have a whole all ASE certifications, lots of other aftermarket tuning certifications. I'm a Virginia Department of Education or DEQ certified emissions repair technician. So being a teacher really helped to show me how much more value education can be with auto tech, because you're working on something that's a group of many, many engineers help design and build. And you're one person who now has to work on the entire vehicle. So it's a very daunting task to say, hey, you have to fix anything and everything that comes in with one vehicle, when you figure there were hundreds, if not thousands, of engineers and people that built and designed this. So auto tech is definitely an industry that is very much always changing and evolving, but it's also a very much in demand industry. And it's a great avenue if you want to get anywhere else in the automotive industry, because if you've got the auto tech background and you spent some time as a technician, that's really going to help you to better understand the industry, the cars, the customers, the whole process, I think. So auto tech as a whole is pretty much that. It's learning how to diagnose and repair a vehicle, which has 8 main subsystems. So there's a lot of information that you need to know. So basically, you have to be an electrician, an HVAC tech, a transmission tech, an engine tech, a brake tech, steering, suspension. So there's a lot of stuff to learn. And what has happened, especially with the way that cars have evolved, and now everything is CAN bus, communication, electronics, computers. It's sort of, a lot of people thinks it makes it easier, but it doesn't really, because the system will only tell you there's a fault. It doesn't tell you why it faulted, where the fault is. So having a very knowledgeable tech now is even more important than in the past. There were guys who were just really good mechanics, understood the theory of how things work, but now you also have to understand electronics, some basic computer information, basic computer coding, all with a scan tool. So it's very, if you're taught it in a classroom setting, it's very easy to gradually attain this information. And that's the whole premise of this program, is to Where we really benefit with our program is that you're working full time while you're also going to school. So while you're learning the theory and practicing the actual hands-on at the school, then 4 or 5 other days of the week, you're in the shop actually working on the vehicles. So the rate at which the technicians in our program exceed and excel is much faster than your traditional, if they go off to a VOTEC school, or even if they go to the community college and do a global program. There's many other ways to go about getting in the automotive industry, but this is the one that will kind of fast track you to being a master level technician.
Gotcha. And where geographically is the reach of the ADEI program?
So the ADI program is from WANADA, which is the Washington Area New Dealer Association. So with it being Washington area, it does include Maryland, DC, and then Virginia. So in Virginia, our main territory is Northern Virginia, and kind of as far south as Stafford. We do have a couple remote dealers that are in Fredericksburg, and then I think there's even 1 or 2 in the Chesapeake area. And then we also go kind of as far west as Loudoun. So over Leesburg and just a little bit past Leesburg. I think there's even 1 or 2 dealers in Winchester. Now, the one thing with that is we could have a dealer say in Richmond. However, right now our program is only set up with Northern Virginia Community College, and the classes are done in Alexandria. So we wouldn't be against a dealership in Fredericksburg having a student and being in the program. They would just have to understand 1 day a week, they're going to have to drive up to Alexandria, Virginia, and for classes.
Gotcha. Well, we have folks on this call from all over Virginia, Southwest Virginia, Northern Virginia, which, they're in the sweet spot with the ADEI program. The beach, is there comparable programs in those areas as well that those folks could look into?
So the other programs that I know of, which I'm pretty knowledgeable on this, is we're pretty much very unique in that we're the only program where the student does not pay for tuition. So our program, that's the biggest benefit, is we not only do we place them in a dealership where they're getting paid, but we also, between us and the dealership, we're paying for their tuition. So there's no tuition cost for the student. There are a few other programs that are kind of similar. The GM Asep program is a really great program. They have a lot of different facilities at community colleges in Maryland and Virginia, and actually all across the country. Mm-hmm. There's also the Toyota T10 program. So those are the only ones that are kind of close in that you're working while you're going to school. Otherwise, your options would be to go to community college for general automotive, or you could, there are a few actual 2 or 4 year degree colleges. UNOH is one in Ohio, Weber State in Utah, and there's, I believe, one in Michigan. So there are a couple standard universities that do have auto tech programs. Then there is also the VOTEC schools, the WyoTech, UTI, Lincoln Tech. Some of them kind of come and go. I'm not the biggest fan of them. For some people, it can work out, but to spend the amount of money that it costs to get a certificate, it just doesn't really make sense to me. I'd have a hard time as a teacher for 8 years. I had all sorts of representatives come in and talk about their programs. And I was always a big advocate of WANADA program, community college, or one of the university programs. Sure. The VOTECs were kind of, unfortunately, on the bottom of my list.
Hey, fair enough.
But some people, it works out for them. I mean.
So what does the application process look like for this program?
So the application process for our program is to, they could just apply on their own if they went to our website. I do also have a separate, once I have contacted somebody who has interest, I have my own application form that just has a few extra questions. It helps me to narrow down their interest and the area they live in, what type of background they have, making sure they're going to be able to work full time. So one of the kind of requirements is grades. It's always good if you have better grades, but that's not what we're about. As long as they can be hired. So one of the big things sometimes can be if they have a driver's license, because they are going to have to be able to be get a sponsoring dealership to support them. So in order to get hired at most any dealership, you're going to need a driver's license. You also are going to need a driver's license that probably is completely clean of any traffic incidents, maybe one, the rare occasion, possibly two, but anything two or more, you're not going to be able to get hired. Some places do also have mandatory drug tests. That's something that's purely between the dealership and them. But so yeah, they would send in the application form. I then contact them to make sure that they're fully aware of how the program works. And basically, initially, the first students who then send me a resume. So once, if we know that they're definitely interested, we get them to register at Nova, just to have a student ID. And that kind of gets them started in the process. And then the priority is those students who go out with either the interviews that I get them, or some will go out and find interviews on their own. If they get sponsored by a dealer, then that guarantees them a spot in the program.
So ultimately, that's kind of like the most difficult, or not the most difficult, but that's kind of where the competition in terms of getting into this program or not comes in, is whether or not you can find a dealership that will hire you while you're a part of the program.
Yeah, and when it comes down to it, when we're closer to the actual start of the semester, we will then look at our list, and let's say we have 12 out of 15 spots that they're hired at a dealership. Then we'll go into a rubric that we have that would kind of show, okay, who's been the most interested, who's shown the most drive and initiative. And then we'd fill those other spots, and we can kind of float them for a little bit. We prefer not to. We prefer to have all 15 already working at a dealership when the first semester starts. But if that doesn't happen, then we would fill any other possible applicants that we have. So last year was our first year of running this program at Northern Virginia Community College. There was some stuff with COVID. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to run the class. There's a lot of stuff that was up in the air the summer beforehand. So we kind of all of a sudden got everything approved. So this past year, we did have a few students that we started in the program that weren't already working at a dealership. And then it was just a matter of trying to find them dealerships quickly for them to start to be sponsored at and to start working.
And that's kind of a big part of your role, like Eric specifically, right? Is
right.
Finding those dealerships.
I'll send out the resumes. If need be, I can even help to set up interviews. I always at least initially set up the contact between the applicant and the dealer or contact person at the dealer. And then depending on the student's needs, I'm always even willing to meet with them. I'm willing to go along with them if they feel like that's necessary for the interview. So I'm very much there to help facilitate any needs that they might have with trying to make sure that they're being presented the best that they can and fairly, and everything's as organized as can be.
Very cool. And you said you're willing to go along with them if that would be helpful. Would you recommend that, or would you recommend people go independently?
It probably depends a little on the candidate and maybe even the dealer. So I'd say that's a bit of a case-by-case scenario. It probably doesn't look that great if I'm along for the interview. It probably would be better if they went on their own, but there has been a time or two where I went there beforehand. I wasn't there during the whole interview, but I met with them beforehand, just kind of introduced each other, and then sort of, left. So that way they could spend time doing their interview process with just one-on-one.
Right. And I know you said you need good grades and no speeding tickets, which would have been tough for me to in this application process when I was in high school, but are there other like background skills or like areas that people have like knowledge of or hobbies in, any of that kind of things that maybe are necessary or would help, or anything in between?
So any prior training for auto tech is definitely helpful. So if they've taken auto tech in high school, or maybe if they've worked in a shop, that's huge, because then they are familiar with the whole process. A lot of students who have taken auto tech and never worked in a shop, it's pretty different because you have a lot of guidance. You're not getting paid. So the expectations are a little different. So if a student has worked in a shop, that tends to really help them be better prepared. Having taken auto tech is good, but it's definitely not necessary. We've had some of our best students had zero prior automotive knowledge. The main thing is just really that they are driven, they're focused. With being an automotive technician, there's not really any faking it. You can be a glorified parts changer, as they call it, but it's very obvious if you know how to diagnose and repair a car or not. Once somebody has hired you, you kind of can't fake that. So most people in the automotive world figure out pretty quickly if it's for them or not because of that.
Gotcha. You said something that I think I kind of brought up a couple of questions in my head. If somebody's already worked or is working at an auto shop or a garage, what would be the motivating factor at that point to do the program if you're already working in auto tech?
So the main thing I would say would definitely be the education side, for multiple reasons. One, you'll earn college credit, so it's something extra you can put on your resume. If they were to ever change positions or want to change industry, maybe become a manager or do something else in the automotive world, that will definitely help them to have that on their resume. With that extra education, the main thing that I really try and have the students understand is this isn't just busy work. This is to help you understand how to diagnose and repair, which means two things. It's going to help you make more money. It's also going to help you enjoy your job more because you're going to know what you're doing as opposed to guessing or just throwing parts at things. So I think it makes for a much better trained technician. It also makes for a happier technician. Right, and the dealership's going to be happy with that too, because now they've got a more knowledgeable, better trained technician who's going to be doing, faster repairs, more accurate repairs, less likely to have any comebacks.
You mentioned something that I think everybody is always concerned about, which is money. Within this field and, through your program, possibly while you're doing the program, as well as once you graduate, and are starting to be employed, what kind of, income are we looking at?
So starting out for somebody who either has zero prior knowledge or just a little bit, roughly most of the dealers are in the $10 to $15 an hour range. And then where it goes from there is really dependent on the individual. So the automotive field is one where if you're a very driven, motivated technician, there's no reason why in 3 to 5 years you can't be making 80 to 100,000. Now you might work some extra hours for that, and that's where some technicians in our area will work, 5 days a week, 6 days a week. Some will do 9 or 10 hour days. And we have several techs in this area who are making easily six figures. We even have a couple closer to 200 grand a year. Now, they are working hard for that money. They're not, it's not just kind of sitting around. You know, they're hustling for that, and they're using their knowledge to find correct and appropriate, you know, shortcuts of how to do things. They get very good with doing warranty work. Another thing that I try and really strive to any of my students is to know how to explain what you're doing, because if you can't explain how you diagnose something, it's going to be hard for them to bill those hours. So if you spend 3 hours diagnosing something and you just write down a piece of paper, I want 3 hours because I had to trace a wire, you're not going to get 3 hours. But if you say, well, I went from pin 3 to pin 62 and, you know, checked out for a voltage drop here, and then it led me to here. If you can explain all that, then that'll also help you to make sure that you're getting paid for all the time that you're working. So that's also an important side of being a technician, is being able to communicate and document what you're doing when you're diagnosing something.
Gotcha. Now, many of the people on this call, it might have disabilities of some kind. Are there accommodations available within this program or in the automotive, maybe not, I mean, tech or just automotive industry generally, stuff like that?
So definitely with the education side for Northern Virginia Community College, they have everything set up to provide basically any and all accommodations that you would expect from a school system. As far as the employer goes, they should be at a minimum doing what is required of the state. Some might do more than others, and that's where me coming in and saying, okay, which dealership might work better for this individual? Because some dealerships, you know, have certain ways that they operate that can work out really well for some people, but it might not be a good fit for someone else. So that's the other reason it's really important for me to at least initially talk to each applicant, get a feel for their personality, try and get as best of a feel I can for where I think, just because a dealership might be closest to them, that might not be the right fit. It might be a dealership, you know, 5 miles further down the road who's going to support that type of technician and student better than the dealership that was closer.
Gotcha. And something that we kind of talked about at the start that I don't know we've talked about quite a bit is, what other kinds of jobs are there in the automotive industry other than your auto technician?
So I'd say the most common one that we've seen students take from going into auto tech would be engineering. So this class is a really great fit for any kind of engineering, whether it be mechanical, automotive, electrical. So there are a lot of really good programs that they can carry on after this with the education that they have too. Most schools would accept those 2 years of their college credit classes. So that's probably the main one for students who right away are looking at maybe saying, okay, I liked auto tech, this is fun, but this might not be for me long-term. And if they can handle some extra schoolwork, especially because engineering is pretty heavy on math, physics, those kinds of things. So if they think that they can handle that, I always advocate that that's a great avenue for them to take the auto tech training that they've had, the time that they've spent in the dealerships. So that's a really good stepping stone. As a teacher, you know, I'd always show examples of, okay, let's look at the system and let's figure out, why did they design it this way? Okay, if you were an engineer, how would you have designed this different? And I think that that's really great, because a lot of engineers, we as technicians are like, why in the world did they design this? This is a terrible design. So it makes for some of the best engineers are the ones who have actually really spent time in the trenches, so to speak. Aside from that, there are a lot of sales opportunities, whether it be for aftermarket parts suppliers at the dealership, different automotive related programs, whether it be education, media. So that would probably be the other big one. Mm-hmm. And there are some other smaller ones like tech support facilities, maybe educational. There's some different coordinating recruiting positions available in the automotive world. And I'd say those are the main ones. Possibly being a service manager, service director, fixed ops manager, and maybe even opening up their own shop.
There you go. Very cool. So a lot of other opportunities as well, kind of that this program and being an automotive technician can help you tap into. Let's see. I think we could probably go to a few questions and we can come back and keep talking as well, kind of depending on how the questions go. And as I said, we'll just start with the first ones that came in and go from there. We kind of covered this, Eric, but I think it couldn't hurt to go over a little bit more. Do your instructors have experience providing academic accommodations in the classroom? And I think as well, can you just talk to us a little bit more about the expertise and knowledge of your instructors?
So the instructors are actually employees of Northern Virginia Community College. So they have their, as with any Virginia community college, because it's a whole network, they have the standardized guidelines of credentials that they need. So as an automotive tech instructor, the main ones are going to be that they are a master certified technician, and that any of the instructors at Nova have to have a associate's degree at a minimum in auto tech. And then they have to do certain continuing education on different educational stuff. So they are, very aware of all the different accommodations that are there. There's also all the counselors at Northern Virginia Community College. There's also different departments that help with additional accommodations that may or may not be needed. So that's something that's where I would probably have them talk with our department chair, Laura Garcia. She's great. She knows about any and all programs and assets that Northern Virginia Community College offers to students. So she'd probably be the main person to talk about exact specifics. But I know that they do have all the accommodations you would expect from a school system in Virginia to have. Sure,
absolutely. Let's see. I think this is a great question, and I'm kind of excited to ask it. Do you need your own tools?
So that's a great avenue into the other part of the other big benefit of this program. So some dealerships will basically all are going to have you supply your own tools. That is one drawback of being a technician, is you need your own tools. Starting off, they might have you work with an apprentice or with a master tech, and you're an apprentice and you use his tools. Some will start you in a quick lube lane where for the first week or two, it's fine that you don't have your own tools, but they know that the tools needed to work in the quick lube is not that extensive. So they expect you to get tools pretty quickly. With being in this program, so most of your technicians will start out spending, I don't know, anywhere from at least $500 to $1,000 for a really basic set. But as you get to be closer to a master tech, most are going to have close to $20,000 to $40,000 worth of tools of their own money. It gets really expensive.
Yeah.
So most technicians, that's why when you need to borrow a tool, the general saying is you borrow it once, that's fine. You borrow it twice, you need to buy your own. Most technicians don't like lending out their tools because they've spent a lot of their hard-earned money buying those tools. Now, being in this program, there are two awesome benefits with tools. Once you've been working at a sponsored dealer, we will reimburse the student up to $500 in tools. and it's whichever tools that they want. The other great benefit of this program is while you're in it, you get a discount on tools from Snap-on, Matco, Craftsman, and Sonic. So anywhere from 30 to 50% off, which is huge. So I tell the students, first year, probably just get a basic set. Second year, once they're in it and if they know this is for them, don't overspend by any means, but you're probably not going to have a chance to buy these tools at this kind of discount, because the quality truck brand tools, they hardly ever discount their tools. So to be able to get the tools at 30 to 50% off is pretty huge.
Totally. Thank you for answering that. I know that's not the most fun question to answer of all of the ones that I could have asked.
Yeah.
But
some dealerships will provide, some of them, the higher ends, especially like Mercedes, some of the Audi dealers, sometimes they'll provide a toolbox so that the shop looks nice and everyone has the same toolbox. But normally, even those places, you still are going to need your own hand tools and air or power tools. Any good dealership will have all the factory specific tools. So you're not going to need a scan tool to read codes, reflash, reprogram. They're going to have all the specialty tools, but they are going to expect you to have sockets, wrenches, pliers, all your power tools, air tools. So it adds up quickly.
I'm sure. We kind of talked about this earlier, but I think we could talk a little bit more about how competitive the program is. You mentioned like there was like 15 spots. How many people typically are applying for this? What's the likelihood if you're interested in this and you apply that you would get it or not?
So we have limited to 15. And part of that is it helps to make sure that the student, teacher ratio is a little lower so that you're getting better education. And it's not 20, 30, in a class. So that's part of it. I'd say as far as how competitive it is, if the student is serious and motivated and showing that, he's pretty much guaranteed, he or she is guaranteed a spot. So even if they're struggling to find a sponsoring dealer, if I see that if we see that they're working hard, they're responding to every message, they're going out to the interviews, if they're being very proactive, they're almost guaranteed a spot. The ones who kind of drag their feet a little, take 2 to 3 weeks to respond, don't really schedule interviews and stuff like that, they're the ones who may or may not get in, depending on how many of the other people were being proactive.
Right. That makes perfect sense. So it's as long as you're really on top of your business and do all of the things that you should be doing if you're applying for any job or any school or any program, you should have a pretty good shot at getting in.
Right. Yeah, I see a question there asking how long it is. So the program is a 2-year program, and it follows the standard college schedule. So fall semester starts at the very end of August, ends in early mid-December, and it starts back up at the end of January and ends in May.
And so you take the summer off and the
right. So the summers you still have off, just like you normally would at a traditional college.
Mm-hmm.
It would be up to them and the dealership if they want to change the hours at that point. The one requirement is while they're in the program, the dealership has to allow them to have their training day off. So most technicians are going to be working at least one day on the weekend. Some like it. Some of our students work both days on the weekends. That's really dependent on the dealership and the applicant.
Gotcha. And what day is the class? Are the classes?
So for the new class, it's either going to be Monday or Wednesday. Nova hasn't set the finalized schedule. Right now, our group, our cohort that's in there now, it's on a Friday. So every Friday they have off, but it's in the contract with our dealer agreement. When the students go and have the interview, they'll bring that, or I'll already have sent that form so that the dealer knows the expectations are that they're going to give them that day off. And
Gotcha.
so the 2-year program, once you're done, you are earning college credit for these classes, which is pretty unique of our program also. However, we don't include the gen ed classes. So at the end of the 2 years, you'll get a certificate and you will have completed and earned roughly almost 70% of what you would need to get a 2-year associate's degree. So what I tell a lot of the applicants is if they can handle it, maybe take one class a semester. A lot of these classes can be done online for the gen ed classes. It would really benefit them if they took those classes, because then at the time that they're done with the 2 years of this program, if they take the English class, communication, science or math class, if they take a few of those, they'll be able to actually then earn the 2-year associate's degree when they are done with the program.
Yeah,
but I get that's not for everybody. That's one thing that kind of sets us apart too, is that we don't require those classes.
Right. That's really nice. I mean, if you're not interested in English, I mean, like, I don't know, me, who was an English major, but yeah, that's great. Let's see. I feel like this is kind of a long shot question, but are there housing options for students that are not local to the Northern Virginia area?
I don't know about that. That would be something to maybe look into with Nova to see if they have any leads on that.
Just to clarify,
possibly with an employer, but that's kind of a long shot. We don't provide anything, but we could definitely try to help facilitate that.
Probably a good thing to ask your the counselor at the community college about, your guidance counselor. Maybe could help with that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Eric, this was something, I mean, we would probably get to at some point, but since it's here already, how can people get in touch with you if they want to connect and learn more about the program or apply? What's the best route for that?
So my contact information is on our website. I will also put it in here. LaPearl and a few other of the DARS program have my contact information. Email works, phone call, text. We even have social media sites. They're not super active, but they're there. I monitor those. So I'd say those are the best ways to try and get in touch with me. There is directly on our website, there is the application form there, and then that would come to me.
Gotcha. I will say, Eric says you can reach out through social media, but generally speaking, if you're applying for a job, probably not reaching out through social media is going to be the most effective way to do that. If you could find an email or a phone number, that would probably be a lot better. Okay, does anybody have any other questions? If not, I mean, I'm sure me and Eric could have a few more things to talk about, but I definitely want to make sure any other questions anybody has gets answered. Okay, I'm going to kind of wait and let those roll in.
Okay. Hey, Josh and Eric, this is LaPearl. Eric, I have a question regarding the increase in demand for the cars that run on electricity. So how is that impacting what you all are doing with the auto tech program through WANADA?
So there's kind of, I guess you could say, two sides of that. One is the hybrid and EV, and actually we're probably going to see other forms of hybrid vehicles besides electric. Could be hydrogen. There's already some natural gas vehicles out there. So really that's with each manufacturer as far as having the specific factory training to be certified to work on those vehicles. However, the real premise and background for any of that is going to be electronics and electricity. So that's why for our education program, we have electricities 1 and 2, and then electronics. So there is a lot of electricity and electronics classes in the program. And that really gives you the good foundation and building block to understand electricity, which for especially anything EV or that's hybrid electric is going to be needed to really have that good understanding to then take the additional factory training to be certified to work on those vehicles. As far as I know, any dealership, if you're going to be working on a hybrid vehicle or an EV vehicle, you have to have passed their factory training. And that's a good lead into for me to also mention with our program, that's another benefit to the individual, but also to the dealer, is one of the requirements of our education side is that they submit and show us that they're doing the factory training. So whether it be they're at a Ford dealership, a Mercedes, an Audi, a Chevy, doesn't matter which manufacturer they're at, they all now have online factory training. And we require, and it's part of their grade, for them to show us that they're working towards completing that. Also, we do assist any students with that. Now, we might not specifically know, say, Fiat or whatever it might be, but given that the instructor is a master technician, or myself even, I'm always offering to help out in any way I can. It's an extra avenue to reach out to somebody to get some help if they're struggling with any of the factory online training. Hopefully the dealership could be helping them, but maybe they don't have anybody there who's good at explaining it. So the nice thing is now you've got other resources for you to try and help you get the factory training done. And with the factory training too, that's also another thing that will be used to determine your pay. So most technicians, if they want to get paid more, they're going to want to complete the factory training. And sometimes they also aren't going to be able to do certain warranty work if they haven't completed certain amounts of factory training. So it's a big part of the automotive industry, and we emphasize that, incorporate it, because if you're not okay with doing continuing education and training, it's going to be pretty hard for you to survive in the automotive world. It's constantly changing, it's constantly evolving. So that's kind of the one nice thing about it, is if you're the person who likes a little of the challenge and likes newer technology, then the automotive field is definitely for you.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I think that's also probably the case with, I don't know, most industries at this point, the way that things are so constantly changing. Speaking of which, Wes would like to know, do you think gas cars will ever be totally phased out?
Oh, I think it'd be a really long time before they're totally phased out. I think you'll definitely see a gradual increase of hybrid, possibly different types of hybrid, possibly hydrogen vehicles. I just think I'm a gearhead. My buddy has a Tesla. It's fast. It's a cool car, but it doesn't sound cool to me. I like the sound of a 2-stroke engine. I like the sound of a flat plane V10. There's certain cars that just have that sound that just gets the hairs up on my arm, and makes me feel awesome. So I think there's enough of that ingrained in society that the nostalgic factor, I think it'd be hard to completely get rid of internal combustion engines. Plus, they're also really efficient. They've come a long way with what they can get for fuel economy and how much they can reduce emissions, that really they're not that bad. Yeah, somebody who's got an H2 Hummer, okay, that thing's, maybe not the most economical, environmentally friendly vehicle, but for somebody who's got a Toyota, Camry, Corolla, anything small, mid-size, even the smaller SUVs now are very efficient. So I think it's going to be, if I had to guess, you're going to see a continuing trend of going to be a melting pot of kind of everything. And I mean, we just don't have enough. I don't think there's enough natural resources. If everyone talks about electric, and electric cars are cool, and I think electricity is awesome. I have an electric dirt bike. The thing's awesome. But if everything's electric, where are the resources coming from? What do we do with all the disposable waste of all these batteries too? So I don't think there's a one solution that's going to work for transportation in general, right? Not even just automotive, whether we're talking about boats, buses, airplanes. So that's just my own personal prediction.
Right. No, I know. I mean, yeah, I don't think anybody on here is like a futurist or anything. But yeah, I mean, in terms of, wherever that goes, your program is going to be preparing people for whatever the industry, is like, it's going to be current. It's going to be, if, like you were saying, like, some hydrogen car or whatever it is, that's going to be the, what you're going to teach basically.
Yeah. And actually this past semester, I took a hybrid vehicle class at the community college. So I'm now, hybrid certified.
Nice.
And it was cool. I learned a lot, but yeah, it's just basically the same concepts, just on a much higher level. And the systems are very safe. You'd have to do something really, you'd have to try hard to hurt yourself pretty much with the way that they protect the hybrid systems now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. What single piece of advice would you give somebody looking to join the ADEI program, or just a single piece of advice for somebody looking to become an automotive tech if they don't, maybe they live 5 hours from Northern Virginia and they're not ready to, make that trip?
I'd say the key thing, kind of two things: try and find somebody who's a good resource to really talk to about what it's going to be like. And if possible, which if I ever have any candidates who are sort of on the fence, I will try and see if I can get them to do a job shadow, maybe at a dealership, or at least go visit a dealership, take a tour, see what the technicians are doing, maybe even talk to some of the technicians. That's a really great way to figure out, okay, could this be for me? What avenues do I have? There's more resources now as far as what's out there, but I still feel the automotive world might not have as much information as to what's expected, how to get involved in it, and what's available.
Right. Well, Eric, is there anything else that you want to cover that we have not covered yet? For attendees, if there's any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat. We got a few more minutes.
Eric, this is LaPearl again. A couple of things. We may have some candidates and counselors who are either have consumers that are going through the auto tech program at the Wilson Center, and the Wilson Center is now back open after being closed for several months due to COVID. Or they're thinking about referring people to that program. And you and I think Joe had an opportunity to tour as part of the business tours, I guess almost 2 years ago by this time, right?
Yeah, it was awesome to be able to go down there and take the tour and meet everybody there.
We're starting tours back up again this fall. Woo! What would you say, I guess, to those candidates that are, again, getting really good foundation with just those basic skills to being auto tech? They do get the actual hands-on servicing and repair. What would you say to those candidates that are interested in continuing on?
I'd say the biggest piece of advice that I can try and tell possible future technicians, and I almost fit into this category when I first started working at a dealership, I was somewhat overwhelmed with the amount of information I needed to know. And I thought I was fairly knowledgeable coming out of 3 years of high school auto tech, and got hired. I'm like, oh, I'm going to do great. And then all of a sudden I was looking at wiring diagrams, all this other stuff. And I was almost like, wow, this might be a bit overwhelming. It takes time to become a master tech. If you work really hard and you're a fast learner, maybe 3 to 5 years, some technicians, it could take 5 to 10 years before they become a master tech. And as you're learning, things are changing. So just understand that, be patient with it. Especially try hard to learn the basics, because it's really going to help you down the road. So if you're struggling with the first electronics class or electricity, because that's the one that tends to be where most people struggle the most, ask this instructor, reach out to me even, do what you can to try and really help build those foundations, because then it'll be so much easier for you down the road. And know that that's how this is done. It's stepping stones, it's building blocks, right? We learn how to crawl before we learn how to walk before we run. So it's the same way with automotive.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Josh, if it's okay, I know we have Joe on with us, and I don't want to deny him an opportunity at least to say hello. Joe, if you want to unmute, we have Joe Koch, who is one of the vice presidents with the Washington area new auto dealership, and has been very supportive of this partnership. So Joe, if you want to have any words of encouragement for any of our participants that are looking at auto tech?
Eric pretty much said it all. That was a really good presentation. I just got an email I just got an email from Matt Streeter, who's on the call. So we even have people on the conference right now who have gone to the website and filled out an application. And so, I can tell you that we'll definitely get in touch with you, Matt. Eric will have gotten that as well. He was just too busy talking to see it, I'm sure. I was doing a little work on the side while I was listening. So the website works. It's adei-programs.org. And I think I saw that information is going to be distributed out to all of the participants today. So complete a scholarship application or email Eric directly if you're interested. We will definitely follow up with you. If you live or are willing to commute to Northern Virginia, and are interested in a career as an auto technician, and that's something that you think that you want to do, there is no better program. It's 100% free. We guarantee you a job. There's mentorship. You have Eric supporting you the whole time. You will not find a better entryway into a career as an auto technician than this program. It was specifically designed to be easy and to help guarantee success for technicians, because our dealers, the people I represent, need auto technicians really bad. So there's demand. We can certainly find you a job, especially if you have, a basic set of automotive skills. Eric was being a little humble earlier, talking about kind of the application process, and probably because, we certainly want our candidates to take it seriously. It is a big step, but there are jobs available. We can find you work. And so contact Eric, fill out something on the website, and we'll work with you. We would love to help.
Yeah. The one thing I probably should have mentioned, and that was a good lead in, is that if, say, we got over enrolled, we represent the dealers. So dealers still need technicians. Maybe they can't get into the program, maybe not right now. So even if you're kind of on the fence and you say, maybe I need to try it out, we might be able to find you a dealership that would be a good fit. And then maybe next semester, once you feel a little more confident about it, then maybe we bring you to the program. There's always that option as well. So the main thing is that we're here to support our dealers and support, training, proper education of auto tech. So
sweet. Well, hey, Eric, thank you so much. This was great. I'll make sure that we honor everybody's time, which we're running out of. If you all needed to get in touch with Eric, you've got the website, you got his email, you got LaPearl's email. Reach out, get in touch. Otherwise, thank you all so much for attending another installment of DAR's Career Cafe. If you would like to check out our next one, it will be in July, and we will be speaking with Dave Peterson with Shine, which is the solar hands-on instructional network of excellence. So you can learn about careers in the solar power industry. So that'll be a really great opportunity as well. And again, check out WANADA's website, check out adei-programs.org, email efalk@wanada.org. And yeah, thank you all for coming. And I think that's it.
Yeah, I think hopefully I just shared the screen of a flyer we have that has kind of all my contact information, highlights some of the key aspects of our program, some of the key points.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you both so much.
Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.